Hello, I'm R.A. Spratt. I write and perform this podcast. If you'd like to support the show, I'm a children's author, so you can buy a book by me, or you can buy me a coffee by going to buymeacoffee.com/storiesRASpratt. It's an easy way to make a small thank you gift to the show so I can keep kicking this can down the road. The podcast directory you're using right now should have a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page in the show notes, or you can type it into your browser. That's buymeacoffee.com/storiesRASpratt. All contributions are gratefully appreciated. Hello and welcome to Bedtime Stories with me, R.A. Spratt. Well, there's been a lot happening here in Bowral. I've been working away on the epically awesome Odyssey as told by Nanny Piggins. So the edit's almost done, so that's on track to come out in June. And I've had another release this week, the audiobook of Nanny Piggins and the Race to Power, which is the 8th book in the Nanny Piggins series. That audiobook has been released this week. So if you would like some more Nanny Piggins related listening, you can pick that up anywhere where you can download and buy audiobooks. And that one's the Race to Power, and it's all about Nanny Piggins trying to become mayor and all the things she has to do to become mayor of Dullsford. It's funny too because it's all about politics and running for office, and there's a lot of stuff that comes up in it that's weirdly prescient, guessing what happens in the future, and some of the things have come true. So it was fun to go through and read that book in the studio, and now it's coming out. So, and there's, if you're on Yoto, there's 4 Nanny Piggins books available as Yoto cards already. You can buy them as a pack of 4. And I've been talking to my publisher, and they're going to release another 4 on Yoto cards, so that's pretty exciting. All right, well, that's enough news. Let's get into today's story. We've been having a lot of Greek mythology, so I thought, what can we do that's a bit different? And when I've had events, kids have been requesting some more Norse mythology. Probably the Marvel movies with Thor are a bit of an influence there. People are asking for the Kraken. I must write that down. I'll write that down because I'll do the Kraken, because lots of people want me to do a story about the Kraken because they really like the story about Nanny Piggins' relative who is the Loch Ness Monster. So I think I'll do something similar with the Kraken soon. But today we're going back to Norse mythology, and today I'm going to be doing the story of how Odin lost his eye, according to Nanny Piggins. Here we go. Nanny Piggins, Boris and the children had spent a wonderful afternoon playing pirates in the park. They were nowhere near the ocean, but their local park did have an open storm water drain, and there was half an inch of water drizzling along the bottom of it, so it took very little imagination to pretend they were on the high sea searching for treasure. After a long day of taking turns forcing each other to walk the plank, the seesaw was very good for this. Mrs. Simpson's chihuahua was enthusiastically playing the shark below. And attacking enemy pirates, chasing off the teenagers who were hogging the swings, they were exhausted and hungry. Plus, it was getting dark, so they returned home proud of their day's work. Nanny Piggins, why do so many pirates wear eye patches? Asked Michael. I don't know, said Nanny Piggins. I always assumed it was because it made them look mysterious and glamorous. But I suppose it must have started with one pirate having a nasty medical condition. He started wearing an eye patch, and the other pirates thought he looked fabulous, so they all copied. But that would be silly, said Samantha. Yes, but fashion is often silly, said Nanny Piggins. Pretending you've only got one eye seems far less silly to me than pretending you like wearing leather trousers or flared trousers. I suppose, said Samantha. Alternatively, said Nanny Piggins, perhaps pirates wear eye patches for the same reason Odin did. Odin, said Michael. You mean the king of the Old Norse gods? Asked Derek. Yes, that's the one, said Nanny Piggins. He only had one eye. Why, was he a cyclops? Asked Samantha. No, he was born with 2 eyes, said Nanny Piggins. Well, what happened to the other one? Asked Michael. Oh, that is a crackingly good tale, said Nanny Piggins. If I'm going to tell it to you, we'll need appropriate snacks. I know. Let's have some tigerkaka. What? Said Derek. Tigerkaka, repeated Nanny Piggins. You know, Scandinavian tiger cake. Does it contain real tigers? Asked Boris. I do love cake, but I wouldn't want to hurt any of our tiger friends. "Oh no, it's just stripy like a tiger," said Nanny Piggins. "To make tigerkaka, you take vanilla cake batter and chocolate cake batter and pour them into a tin in layers to get the stripes. Of course, when we make it, we'll substitute out the vanilla with dark chocolate, because chocolate cake is much better than vanilla cake." "But then won't it just be brown and brown? You won't be able to see the stripes," said Samantha. "Oh, but if you eat it with your eyes closed, you'll be able to taste the stripes," Nanny Piggins assured her, "and that's all that matters." And so that is what they did. Nanny Piggins whipped up a big batch of brown-on-brown tigerkaka, and she began her tale. Our story starts back at the very beginning of the ancient Norse mythology days, when everything was starting up. Odin lived in Asgard with all the other Norse gods, and he was put in charge of everything, including the world. The world was beautiful, it was full of animals and forests and streams, but gardening is a lot of work, and Odin had other things to do, so he delegated. He created the first man and woman from a tree. "He created people out of a tree?" asked Michael. "How did that work?" "I don't know," admitted Nanny Piggins. "I imagine it was a Pinocchio-type situation. There was some wood carving involved, a talking grasshopper, a shooting star flew past, and Bob's your uncle. Humanity was created." Now, being in charge of everything in the heavens and the earth was a big job with a lot of work for Odin. If you think world news is dramatic now, it was even more dramatic back then, because back then there were giants and other gods, many of whom were naughty, and all sorts of monsters with names so strange that the Scandinavians had to invent several new letters for the alphabet with extra squiggly bits to write their names down. Odin was obviously pleased to be the All-Father. That's what they called the king of the gods back then. He was also known as the Gatherer of the Slain, Lord of Frenzy, Leader of the Possessed. He had a lot of cool nicknames. But being in charge of the ancient Norse mythology worlds was a tricky job. There is no dummy's guide to ruling the heavens and the earth. There's no university you can attend to learn the job skills. Luckily, Odin had the good sense to realise he didn't have enough good sense, and decided to do something about it. "Well, couldn't he just ask his son Thor for help?" asked Michael. "He's the one who's always the hero in the movies." "Look, Thor was wonderful at some things," said Nanny Piggins. "Things that involved hammering, for a start. If you needed to hang up a picture by putting a nail in the wall, then Thor was your man. Or if you needed someone to stand in the corner looking muscly, again, Thor was perfect for the job. But if you wanted to make good decisions, Thor was not quite so useful. And when you are in a leadership role, many decisions cannot be solved by bashing things with a hammer. No, what Odin really needed was wisdom. Luckily, he knew where he could find some. "Where?" asked Derek. "The Yggdrasil," said Nanny Piggins. "The what?" "The Yggdrasil. It was a holy tree at the centre of the cosmos." "Another tree?" said Samantha. "Yes, the ancient Norse people really loved their trees, and the Yggdrasil was the most special tree of all. It was a huge ash tree, so tall that it stretched up into the heavens, and its roots reached down so deep they stretched down into the underworld. And under one of these roots was a spring. And I know, Michael, you're now imagining a coil of metal. Not that type of spring. A spring of water." "Oh, right," said Michael. "That does make more sense." "Anyone who drank from the spring drank in all the wisdom of the world," said Nanny Piggins. "So Odin went and had a drink?" asked Derek. "Well, he wanted to, but the spring of wisdom was watched over by Mimir, and you couldn't take a drink without getting permission from him. But Mimir was pretty friendly, so Odin went and asked. "Hello, Mimir," said Odin. "I don't know if you've heard, but I am the All-Father now, Lord of Frenzy, Gatherer of the Slain, King of the Norse gods." Yeah, I heard some gossip about that," said Mimir. "Anyway, it's a big promotion for me," said Odin. "I've got a lot on my plate now. I was really hoping to gain some wisdom. I don't want to stuff up being the supreme leader of everything." "Well, that's understandable," said Mimir. "So how can I help?" "Well, I was hoping you would let me have a drink from your spring of wisdom. You know, so I can gain all the wisdom and knowledge of the world." "Were you now?" said Mimir. "I know it's a big ask," said Odin, "but I promise I'll give you anything I have in exchange for just one drink. All my jewels, all my gold, all my weapons. I'll even give you my beloved—" "He's not going to say his wife, is he?" exclaimed Samantha. No, something much more important to him, said Nanny Piggins. I'll even give you my beloved 8-legged horse. Typical ancient god, said Samantha. They're all such rotters. Hang about, said Michael. Did you just say that Odin had a horse with 8 legs? Michael, please, don't get sidetracked, said Nanny Piggins. I love a digression more than most, but if we start talking about octo-horses now, we'll never finish the story. All right, continue, said Michael, jotting down a note to ask his nanny about octo-horses later. Please, you can keep your gold and your swords and your horse, said Mermere. I don't want anything like that. Good for him, said Samantha. Oh, I'm begging you, said Odin. I'll give you anything. Really? Anything, said Mermere. Oh, yes, absolutely anything, said Odin. Okay, well, what about your eye, asked Mermere. Would you give me one of your eyes in exchange for a drink of this water? Odin took a moment to think about this, said Nanny Piggins. Good, because it's a crazy suggestion, said Derek. But Odin knew he really needed wisdom. He didn't have any, whereas he did have 2 eyes, so he could spare one of those, said Nanny Piggins. Oh, I don't like where this is headed, said Samantha, putting her hands over her own eyes just in case. All right, said Odin. And before Mermere could say, don't be a silly sausage, I was only joking, Odin plucked his own eyeball out of his head and held it out to Mermere. Mermere was horrified. The eyeball was gross and wet and slimy. Yuck, I don't want to touch that, said Mermere. He slapped Odin's hand away. The eyeball flew up in the air and landed with a big plop right in the middle of the water. Hey, my eye! Exclaimed Odin. But it was too late. The eye was gone, sinking to the bottom of the spring. Why did you slap my eye away? Asked Odin. You just asked for it. It was a hypothetical, said Mermere. What's a hypothetical? Asked Odin. It's an imaginary scenario, said Mermere. People use hypotheticals as thought experiments to work out ethical ideas. Well, I didn't know that, said Odin. That's the whole reason I'm here. I don't have any wisdom. I don't know very much. Oh, fine, said Mermere, stepping aside so that Odin could approach the spring. You need to drink from this spring more than anyone I've ever met. It's a wonder you can function, you're that silly. Odin knelt down by the water, leant forward until his mouth touched the surface, and drank great long draughts from the spring. Hey, that's enough, said Mermere. You don't have to drink the spring dry, just a few mouthfuls will do. Odin sat back and tried to see if he felt any different. Did he? Asked Samantha. Not at first, said Nanny Piggins. His body felt just the same, except fuller because his stomach was full of water, and his brain was full of wisdom. There was so much new information in his brain, he didn't know what thoughts to think first. All the new wisdom was just rushing in and whirling about in his mind. Then all of a sudden, one piece of wisdom flashed to the front. Odin leapt to his feet and exclaimed, Oh, no! I've been a total idiot, said Odin. Only a nincompoop would exchange their own eyeball for a cup of wisdom water. Wisdom is something that's supposed to be gained through learning and experience. Well, I hope that plucking your eye out was an experience that you learned from, said Mermere. Yes, said Odin forlornly. I've been very foolish, but I have learned my lesson. Now can I please have my eye back? Have it back? Exclaimed Mermere. This isn't a Disney movie. This is the ancient Norse mythology days. This is a cruel world. That's not how stories end here. Odin looked into the deep spring. You just don't want to dive in and fetch it for me, do you? Accused Odin. Of course I don't, agreed Mermere. This is Scandinavia. Do you have any idea how cold that water would be? Plus, I don't swim. And the spring is so deep, it stretches all the way down to the underworld. Even if I could swim, I couldn't swim that far. There's no way you're getting your eye back. Oh, fine, said Odin. So I'm the wisest god, but I won't be able to play throw and catch with my son because I've got no depth perception now. Well, you will be able to play throw, said Mermere. You'll just find catch difficult. So Odin returned to Asgard, said Nanny Piggins, feeling very sorry for himself. His wife was horrified when she saw him. He'd always had beautiful blue eyes, and now he just had one beautiful eye. So, because she was a loving wife, she made him an eye patch that he could wear over where his lost eye had been. And when Odin looked in the mirror and saw himself with the eye patch, he began to cheer up. because he looked really cool with an eye patch, very mysterious and debonair. So much so that pirates and daytime soap opera characters have been wearing eye patches ever since. The end. Time for bed. But then what did Odin do with all his wisdom? Asked Derek. Oh, well, you'll never believe what he did first, said Nanny Piggins. But that is a story for another day. So we'll leave it there. All right, I hope you enjoyed that one. It's been really fun getting back into Norse mythology, and I have already written the story of what Odin did first with all his great newfound wisdom, so I'll be doing that story for you next week. It's a cracker. Okay, that's it for now. Until next time, goodbye. Hello, it's me again. If you enjoyed listening to Bedtime Stories with R.A. Spratt, it would be really helpful if you could like, subscribe, follow, and or review the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to now. Every little one of those digital affirmations helps, and the bigger this podcast gets, the more I can justify procrastinating from my real job to keep bringing these stories to you. Thank you.